I think we did one was for your brother's wedding.
Oh, really?
I'm trying to think about it.
You didn't do Super Bowl 2020.
That's why. That's why. Hi, Jay. Good morning.
Good morning. Did you didn't do Super Bowl 2020, right?
No, I did not because I went to Paris week
That's
and a half
right.
after that.
Right. Yes, I guess Michael's
Mr.
weekend.
Jarvis, good morning.
Mr. Jarvis. I did the 2020 Super Bowl, and then actually Jarvis. We snuck away and did a 3-night at the end of February. That was kind of that was our
Your
COVID
last
swan song.
hurrah.
We didn't know that was our COVID swan song at the time, but it was.
I know, like that was yours. Mine was Paris, and it was just
Yeah. You know what's crazy? I remember literally being in the bamboo room with Rick and Ken and being like, "Do you think this like thing we're hearing about in Asia is gonna like be a thing?" We were all like, "No, this stuff never happens."
I mean, like, I didn't really think it was going to be that big of a deal because, like, we were in Paris, and I was like, "Oh, let's not do the Louvre this time. We'll do it when we come back with Olivia.
Right,
Oh, we'll
right,
do this when we come back with Olivia in April."
right. Like we had, we were sweet summer children, so naive. All right. Good morning. Let's see who's in here. Ken's in here. Pam, good morning. Debbie, hello. Ms. Baker, hello. DFS Cruiser, hello.
Wow, we got a
Aunt
lot of people
B,
in already.
Galveston Steve, live from the Independence. If you guys are not following him,
Our featured broadcaster.
he's doing a great job from the Independence. You can he's been posting a lot of the stuff in Today in Travel, our Facebook group. So Galveston Steve's doing a great job. Miss Ann, how are you? Miss Wendy, I see you conducting all over Facebook and looking good out there. I just want to know when it's my turn to guest conduct something, Wendy. Just let me know. Miss Denise, good morning. Good morning. Mr. Rather, good morning. Kathleen, hello.
Kathleen is clutch because if she's unfortunately not sailing with you and you do a late night scope, Kathleen is there. Kathleen is always there because
She's
of
always
that
there.
post time frame.
Well, I don't think Kathleen sleeps because she always
Oh
she'll text me before I even get up, and I'm like, "You're in the West Coast. How early is it?" I
yeah,
don't think
Kathleen is like
Kathleen
that
sleeps.
real MVP.
She is. She is. She is always there. Always there. All right, Wendy. I guess get them ready for the Eroica. I'm on my way.
Well, Jason, it's the top of the hour.
It is top of the hour. Hello, everybody. I am Jason Poole. This is Today in Travel. This is our weekly Tuesday talk show where we bring you all the news, good, the bad, the ugly, about everything happening in the world of travel, land resorts, airline news, hotels, motels, cruising, lots of information. I am a travel advisor with Cruise Planners, which is an American Express travel representative. And I specialize in all things cruises, land resorts, and European land travel. My partner in crime in this travel endeavor, Miss Haley, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm a little tired. It was a midnight flight getting in last night. But my name is Haley. I'm a travel blogger. I also own a hotel sales support company that supports all hotel brands and boutiques and boutique hotels, pardon me. And I just got back I felt like it was in essence two back to back cruises. I had a 4 day gap in between Alaska and this one, but I have an insane amount of laundry to do. And, with Labor Day, it just feels like a new chapter. Kids are back in school and
Yeah,
it's just a complete shift. So I think we've got some really exciting things to cover today.
we do. We do. We have. So last week it was pretty much all bad news. This week we have a little bit of bad news as we keep it fair and balanced, but we have some good stuff to talk
Yeah,
about this week.
especially I hope that Ken Jarvis stays tuned for the bad news.
Well, Haley, you just got back from a weekend cruise with
I did.
MSC. That was your first MSC cruise, right?
It was.
Okay. And so it was just a quick little weekend getaway.
Yeah.
What'd you think?
So I was supposed to try, you and I were both supposed to try MSC in 2020.
Yep.
And I had a two 2021 early 2021 cruises canceled. I was supposed to do
Hmm.
Yacht Club in the Med,
Yep.
and then I was supposed to just do the Meraviglia, which I was on for Southern Caribbean for Olivia's February break. Well, this didn't happen. And, I've heard some people that have done MSC were not a fan, didn't like it, but, they just ordered a dozen new ships. So
Yeah.
I felt like I need to experience this. And my goal going into it is I didn't do a ton of research on it. I was like, I want to experience this like a first time cruiser would,
Yeah.
or first time to that brand would. In my experience, that's also why I opted to not bid up to Yacht Club. I'm like, I want, just the traditional balcony stateroom, a family, a couple trying cruising. I wanted that experience. And I got a lot of questions on Instagram saying, like, oh, is it better than Royal? Is it comparable to Royal? Is it this? Is it that? I think it plays in the same area as Royal and Norwegian.
Yep.
As of right now, I would probably give Royal Caribbean a slight advantage,
Sure.
because they're used to catering the North American market. I think a lot of people forget that MSC sails the Caribbeans and is catered towards Europe, is Caribbean, pardon me, and is catered towards Europeans that want to come sail in the Caribbean.
I mean, I think it's no different than when I go to Europe, I am looking at Royal Caribbean, Celebrity when I go to Europe, right? Because I feel comfortable with those American-based cruise lines in Europe. Like I'm not looking at P&O or Costa. Like I'm not looking at those brands when I go to Europe. And likewise, a lot of Europeans when they come to America to cruise the Bahamas or the Caribbean, they're not looking at Royal or Celebrity. They're like, well, hey, we're used to MSC in Europe. Let's do
Yeah.
MSC
And
in
I
the
think that's
Caribbean.
something people need to remember. So some of the things that are done on board are a little more European. Some of the shows are geared towards more European style. The food is geared more towards European, because I heard people say that they didn't like the food. I actually thought the food was good. I think it was comparable. I mean, I wouldn't say it was mind blowing food. It's not like sitting in Blue or Luminet and having a fabulous meal. But I mean, the buffet I think was comparable to Royal Caribbean. I think Royal Caribbean maybe has a few extra offerings
Okay.
maybe at the buffet, but I mean, they're there making homemade mozzarella balls in this one room in their buffet. Like their pizza it's an Italian cruise line. The
Yeah,
pizza
right.
is
Right.
so good. It's Neapolitan style. It's wonderful. But there were some quirks, like, if you're out late drinking, there's no cafe promenade 24 hours. Their eateries usually shut down around midnight. And then there is limited room service menu. And I say limited, it's extremely limited. Like you're talking like a ham and cheese sandwich, like a sandwich you would pack for a child's lunch is the late night menu. There's little
Right.
quirks like that, but I mean, on the plus side, the parties on this ship, and I mean, granted, I think sailing out of Miami has a little
It's
play with
all,
this,
it's
but they
always
knew how
water
to
out of
play to
Miami.
that market though too, because they had that awesome beach party, which was fantastic. We stayed on their private island till midnight. They had light up drinks, the DJ, the two different laser shows on their lighthouse there. Plus, they're building that up a bit more. They're wanting to engage and compete with Royal Caribbean a bit more, but so impressed. And any party that we went to was great. I liked how they had different pools spread out through the ship. I think that was great, but overall, I would do it again.
I
I had a great experience.
those pictures and videos you posted of the late night beach party at their private island. I mean, that looked like a blast.
Oh my god, it was.
I want a late night beach party at Coco Cay when I'm on a Royal
I
Caribbean for a
think Royal
night
Caribbean
cruise.
could sell a ticket. Like that could be an excursion,
Oh my gosh.
and I would buy
What
into it.
what
And
whatever price. Whatever price. Like, let's go. I want to dance with tiki lights and music on Coco Cay at night.
made
It
up
would be,
people pay for those light up drink cups. Like
yes.
people,
Yes.
I think I think Royal Caribbean is missing out by not doing that. And Jay, to answer your question, the main difference, and this will be in a blog article and a YouTube video, is Americans are a lot more high maintenance
Yes,
cruising.
I agree.
A lot more high maintenance. They need more bells and whistles, more things. That is pretty much what I mean towards
Yeah,
that.
no,
It's very laid back. Not as pushy with the activities. I mean, there's activities, but it's not. The Europeans like having their time to themselves and doing, sitting out on the deck, reading, like going to live music if they want. They don't need to be constantly like entertained.
right. No, we'll make sure to keep following Haley on social media and our Facebook group. She will be posting tons of content coming up.
Yes, absolutely. But I mean, overall, great experience. I would do it again. I think if I do it again, though, I definitely am giving Yacht Club a try next time because I'd love to make a
Sure.
comparison. And I know we have a few people in our group that are very big Yacht Club fans.
Right.
All right, so the agenda. So I did take something off the agenda, Jason. I took
Oh,
the, I took the countries list off of the typical agenda because things are changing so rapidly, and now a lot of those changes, as we'll talk about later, are, if you're vaccinated, you have to do X, and if you're not
right.
vaccinated, and that list is now kind of irrelevant because, people are more widely vaccinated at this point. So we'll
Right.
always, obviously, we'll have articles touching on big changes, but if you guys have questions, you need to talk to a trusted travel advisor about changes to your
Yeah.
upcoming travel. So we have that. So first article, we talked about this a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. So the governor of Hawaii a couple weeks ago basically told people stop coming. Our COVID cases are increasing. Please do not come here. Haley and I reported this on our show. We both thought no one's going to heed that advice. People are still going to go to Hawaii. And they actually had the last 2 weeks a sizable drop in tourism. So it'll be interesting to see how this will affect the COVID cases in Hawaii. But for right now, the governor's warning appears to have impacted the number of tourists going there. I can't help but to wonder what the hotel operators, restaurant owners, how they're thinking about this.
I have a feeling on this. So I do think that there are some people who are like, okay, let me, let me pull back my trip.
Right.
I also think the drop in tourism is because it's the last 2 weeks of August.
I agree. Right.
So low
right.
for people in general.
Right.
Do I think that, some people are waiting and changing their trip? Yes, but
Yeah. Right.
that is traditionally a very slow time. Like, honestly, in hotel world, the last 2 weeks of August and up to the first 2 weeks of September are slow.
Yes.
Everybody's getting back to school, Labor Day, like there's just a huge amount of change in that realm. I mean, I'm happy to see it because I mean, they don't have the resources. They're literally out just in the middle of the Pacific. It's not
Right.
like the Keys or even Cozumel where you like have some good mainland access. Like, it's in the middle of nowhere.
It's the middle of nowhere. It is. We've discussed it is. I can get to Europe more easily and cheaper or less expensive than I can get to Hawaii.
Yes, absolutely. But no, I'm happy to see it. I think it's really important. I think it's nice that he kind of fired a warning shot, like, hey,
Right. I agree.
Please do this so I don't have to, which I think is wonderful.
So a couple weeks ago, we talked about how the European Union was advising. Oh, am I skip? Oh, that wasn't the right order. I'll go to that one. That's
okay.
fine.
This is the Ken Jarvis article.
This is the Ken Jarvis one. Sorry, we're out of order here. So American Airlines has updated its rules as part of its contract and basically says it has no responsibilities for delays and cancellations. It says the only thing they owe you if they don't get you to a destination is a refund. The contract says that they Even if you have an overnight delay, which is of their fault, but the mechanical issue, they will not reimburse you for a hotel. Now, do I think in practice this is how it's going to happen? I actually do not. Believe it or not, I do not believe American Airlines is going to tell you you are out of luck when you are stranded at the hotel. I do not think they will. I think this is probably written by lawyers to protect themselves. That being said, I still think this is a terrible messaging to come out of one of the three large legacy carriers. Now, am I being naive and thinking American is not going to live by these rules, Haley?
I'm trying to figure out how to put this. So, a factor that I could see potentially in this, I mean, I think you're going to have those cases where you have that woman with three kids is traveling to meet her husband because he's doing an extended vacation wherever he had to travel to for work. Flight gets canceled, that's losing her mind. I think there's always going to be that back pocket that they have, but I think part of this also comes from they're not vetting hotels well enough that they work with too, because I've seen people like, oh my god, American put me up at the Holiday Inn and that hotel was awful, because I mean airport properties get very run down really easily, because they're so transitional.
Yeah.
And then they're getting blamed for the hotel in essence. I still think that's a big fat mistake, because I'll tell you right now from the hotel side, the rates that airlines get for distressed passengers, especially in major markets, I mean, they're as low as like $40 a night.
Yeah. So when I got stranded in JFK, Delta did offer to put me up in a hotel. It was not. I also was very late at night. I didn't feel like leaving the hotel, so I just booked the TWA hotel at JFK. It was actually a really cute retro hotel. But Delta did offer me a hotel, and I said no. I have travel insurance. I'll just stay at the TWA. So it will be interesting to see if American sticks to this. I hope they don't. I hope this is just legalese. The lawyers wrote it to protect them. They don't have to do it. It's kind of like our cruise contracts say we can change the itinerary for any reason at any time, right? Like you could book this itinerary you've always wanted, and the cruise lines can totally change it, and there's nothing you can do. In
Yeah,
practice, they don't really do that.
and it brings up a good point. Like travel insurance obviously is just such a must
Yes.
going forward. And I'm actually working on a Instagram reel, because some people commented, and you and I talked about it, that oh, well, I have my credit card insurance. But if you
Mm-hmm.
actually look at the dollar amounts
Mm-hmm.
on the credit card insurance, well, that's great. In
Mm-hmm.
practice, that's a little bit more difficult. Brian, good morning from Sitka. So here's my theory, and I'm interested to see what Mr. One World in here has to say to it, because Hunt Lewis has also alluded to this. I have this feeling, and this could just be me, based on seeing airline prices, because Lord knows I'm checking trips for a million dream trips that I have in my head at the same
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
time at all times. I feel like as a legacy carrier, American, and I'm not saying this is a drop in service, but is somehow placing itself just a hair below the other two, because their price points have been consistently lower through everything. Like, for example, the flight that I had to take down, I had to fly on American, because it was a third of the price. And
Yeah, I do. Right.
I've seen that, and I think maybe they're trying to find a niche within that. And I don't know if this change comes from that. And they're just going to position themselves a little differently. I know that Jarvis in here said that he thinks all the other airlines will follow suit, and I don't. I may be blissfully naive to my beloved Delta. I
but you know
just
what?
I
I
have a hard
believe
time
it.
with the service model seeing it at the same time.
Bel
Like as a I like being a travel industry professional, I have a hard time
So I
thinking
hate
this
to say
is
I hate to say it. I actually
it. Doug
thi-
Parker's Michael B.
I think I disagree with you, Haley.
Okay, no, this is a good
I
conversation. I
I
just
I think I agree with Ken here. I think all the three legacy carriers, they're not that different. Okay.
no.
I know we like to talk about how you and I like Delta and give people that like One World. They're not that different. Okay.
Well, I
United
mean, Delta
American,
does have air conditioning.
true. True. But I do think the three legacy carriers are more alike than they're different. Okay. It kind of depends on where you live, who lives,
Yes,
flies out of
that is
there.
a huge factor based on where you
Right.
live.
It's like, right. So I would not be surprised if the other carriers updated as well, right? All the cruise lines have the same things in their policies, right? Is Royal Caribbean's cruise policy that different than Carnival's or Norwegian's? Or no, they're pretty much all the exact same because in a business space, you kind of want your competitors and you all kind of have to act rational
Oh,
to
absolutely. I mean, we deal with that in the hotel world
right.
all the time, and there's a point of keeping some rate integrity. Like, I mean, I've
Yes.
had to go to another hotel owner in a comp set and be like, dude, you are tanking your rates. Like you're leaving money on the table
Right.
because you're not, following the suit in the comp set. Like I get what you're saying. I mean, I guess I could see the follow. I just think it's a very given the environment, it's a very interesting move to make, especially since fall travel is trending so far down. I mean, you and I have been talking about flight price drops
Oh,
all morning.
yeah, yeah, they are the prices are tanking with flights.
Jarvis, it must be a slow news.
You know what? Well, you know what? Actually, we have a lot more to discuss, so
No, well,
we will
I
move.
think this is a really important one. I mean,
I do
and
too.
I know that there was even a question in here asking about best alliance for international travel. I mean, you can't go wrong with either of the three legacies. And I think I've
No.
actually discussed this with you, is if you are somebody that likes to do a lot of point conversions from credit cards, you're actually potentially better off looking at, possibly One World or Star Alliance because there's even more travel partners
Right. Where
under
Delta is pretty much just
Delta,
American.
KLM, Air France, Virgin Atlantic.
Yeah.
So, I will always give, Star Alliance and One World that adage as well. I mean, thankfully, most places that I want to go, Delta's going pretty well. But I mean, with Amex promo offers and stuff, there's more options with the other two. But I mean, they're not that different. I mean, the American flights I flew down, minus the one not having functioning air conditioning, like the flights themselves were fine.
No, I mean, I flew United home from St. Martin, and it felt like I was on a Delta flight. It was fine. You know what I mean? Like it was totally fine. So, well,
Yeah.
let's say you want to fly to Europe. So let's move along. Uh, a couple weeks ago, the European Union said gave some advice that some of their bloc should have stricter protocols in place for Americans coming over to visit. They even went as far as to say that non-essential travel to the bloc should be banned, but it was up to the individual member nations to decide it for themselves. We both agreed that a lot of these countries that heavily rely on tourism, such as your France, your Italy, your Greece, or we're probably not going to do it. Well, some big countries, as of a couple days ago, have put in place some far stricter measures to travel to the country. Sweden, as of yesterday, has taken the United States off its safe countries list, and you are not permitted to travel into the country for non essential reasons, regardless of your vaccination status. So that effectively means vacationing to Sweden is temporarily halted. Norway has the exact same thing, but they allow you to visit close family members and you have to show a negative COVID test taken 24 hours to departure from the United States and take a test when you get there. So, so basically, travel to Sweden and Norway are essentially done temporarily. So I hate it, but I also understand it because America is doing the worst job in the world out of every civilized industrial nation in the world. The United States is behind. So I understand countries wanting to keep us out because we are doing a terrible job at containing COVID-19.
Yeah. I mean, this is where, like, you know, based on where I live, like, I wish that it could be like by state.
Oh yeah, Tennessee. This is the 7th day in a row we have set an ICU record for like most people in the ICU. The last 7 days in a row have been a record. Like, I mean, it is really getting out of control in parts of the country, especially in the American South.
It is, and you know, I almost think they need to go back to, like, remember when Italy first reopened and you had to have, regardless of your vaccine status, you had to have the 48-hour test,
Mm-hmm.
test at the airport, and test when you got there.
Yeah.
I don't mind the test. Like, if I can do what I would like to do and I have to take a couple tests, I'm going to do it.
I agree.
You know, I'm okay with those measures, but right now there's just a lot of reason we got rid of our country list on this broadcast is there's an if you're vaccinated and if you're not.
Oh yeah, like the Netherlands, like the Netherlands have said you can only enter if you're vaccinated and do a COVID. I mean, it would take us 2 hours to go by each country's requirements, but they are changing rapidly. So if you are planning international travel, that is why you got to have a good relationship with your travel advisor, or make sure you know how to Google these things because things are changing rapidly.
I mean, even though, you know, obviously you're my travel advisor, I text him like, hey, did you see this? Like, you and I are constantly like
right
talking about this, and it changes just so rapidly.
It does. Well, the next slide or the next article is something that I think you are kind of excited to talk about. When I see this, I just want to know where like David Rose is in Schitt's Creek, like the Rosebud Motel.
All that like pops up in my head is like the dee 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 dee. That's like I think of bringing up this slide. So motels in the U.S. are making a big comeback. So Jason sent me this article yesterday on Instagram. The Times posted it, correct? Was it the Times?
Yep.
About upstate New York hotels. And you know, we had our Schitt's Creek jokes.
Yep.
But this has actually been a trend for the last year or two. So what's happening in hotel world is that you're starting to see first-time hotel investors and even seasoned ones are buying up these old roadside exterior corridor hotels and kind of glamping them, turning them into a completely different experience. If you want to see a good example of one, look up Soul Community Planet Hotels. They've bought a few of these exterior corridor, old Motel 6 type of hotels and just have transitioned them into this holistic hospitality concept with Pelotons and all this crazy stuff. And they're beautiful. And I kind of like this idea. So, I mean, up here in the north, we don't have a ton of exterior facing corridor hotels. I mean, there's some, but it's not like, you know, when you go to Florida, and I think because I traveled to Florida a lot as a kid, open, you know, outdoor exterior corridor is just normal.
I've stayed in a lot of exterior corridors and like, yeah.
But, you know, a lot of people got away from building those as well because your airlines, your big national accounts like your Verizon, your AT&T type companies will not place business travel at exterior corridor hotels.
Okay.
which is
Okay.
why the industry kind of started transitioning away from that because everybody wants a piece of that kind of business because it's consistent.
Right.
Make the joke right now, but this is kind of resurfacing for people that are a bit more digital and transient. They can work from wherever. It's nice to be able to pull up in front of your hotel door and
Right.
bring stuff in and not lug it through a lobby. So Jason, I want to know, we have a hotel here in the photo that's revamped, restyled. Would you consider this? Would you stay at an establishment like this?
Probably not.
Why?
Um, I'm not really a hotel snob. I'm really not. But I do feel safer with interior corridors. And I do like going to properties that have like a restaurant, even if it's a simple restaurant or a bar. I mean, so this is probably not for me. But then again, I typically only do a night or two hotel before going like on a cruise. I don't spend a ton of nights in a hotel. So this is probably not for me. And also, I don't want to stay in a lot of hotels like in the middle parts of the country. It's usually near a cruise port or, going to Europe the night before a cruise. So probably this is not for me.
Yeah, so typically speaking, I am not a road tripper,
Me
but
either. Yeah.
um, I think family wise, this is fun. Like especially like in New York, coming into the fall season, if you're driving up, looking at foliage and whatnot, that's a great experience to have. I think it has its place. Especially for the person that's maybe not a beach person and they're wanting to hit all the national parks. I think it's nice to see that variety for those travelers and not
Yeah,
being
I'd
stuck
agree.
at, like
I'd agree.
the typical dumpy style motels. Because as you get to places like closer to Wyoming, I'm not not saying anything bad, Claire, I promise. But near some of the national parks there, you're very limited. And hotel
Yes.
brands, they're all
Right.
independents. There's these little motel things. So I think seeing this glamp up is nice because I won't lie, I'm a bit bougie on the hotel side. Like I think when I'm traveling, because I just have a certain lifestyle I'm accustomed to traveling with, I want certain amenities. So I actually will not fault you and call you bougie for that one.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm
Well,
glad, I'm glad they're getting a facelift though.
I, I agree. I agree. Well, I think that's it for the news of the day. We do have some fun topics to discuss, a good travel tip. So I'm ready to move on when you are, Haley.
I know. I have to scroll down and find our question of the day. What are your travel preferences, Jason? For example, we're talking window seat versus aisle seat, hotel room preferences, hotel type preferences,
Yep.
even cruise preferences. I thought this would be a fun one because we've gotten a lot of these questions in our group.
So I if I'm not flying if I'm flying in a large plane and I'm not fortunate enough to be up front by myself, like in a Delta One seat, I do like aisle versus window. Um, I mean, I know what it looks like outside. I think I like having aisle better personally. Because I
I,
always feel like I'm forgetting something in my bag and going up to get it.
I agree with you, but I think my reasoning's a little different. So I mean, we're spoiled. We travel a lot. I know what
Yep.
that I know what the outside looks like, unless I'm doing a long haul where I'm usually in a bigger seat by a window, I'll take that. But when I'm especially traveling for work, I want the aisle. I want to grab my bag and I want to go.
Like get off, like, when the plane lands, get off and just like yes, yeah, I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
And as far as hotels, I mean, I would typically book one king personally, but two queens are nice because I often like to have the like this is where the luggage like I put the luggage on one, sleep on the other. But I typically just book if I see them always so low, so I would just do a king. It's funny, I'm actually doing a trip to Denver in a couple weeks, and we got a block of queen rooms. We're all like sharing a room, and I was talking with my buddy who I'm going to Denver with, and I'm like, I think I might. might last minute book my own room. I just don't want to. I don't want to share a room with somebody. So my travel style is I don't really like to. I don't like to bunk up or share.
I
You and I
know.
did it once in Hawaii, and I said I'll never. I love you, but I will never do it again.
Guys, I have really bad restless leg syndrome and don't sleep. So, um, no, I think I like having my own space. Like I'm
I do
very
too.
much, I like having my old space. I don't like to share things. I really like sharing things with like my child and my husband.
Right.
I even made a joke to Jeff, like, I'm like, if we ever like book balconies on this ship again, I'm like, you're getting your own. Like,
Look, I mean, sometimes like there are some deals to be had right now on some solo rates. I mean, I know lots of people who are cruising together but are booking two solo rooms, and it is often less expensive than one double occupancy.
oh, it's
So,
absolutely wild. I think I agree with you also on the hotel side. I like kings.
yep.
I've never been one of those people, even if I received the double queen, I'm not a put a suitcase up on the bed kind of person. I always use the rack.
Okay, I actually never do.
In the room. I don't know what it is, but oh, another airline preference. Jason, do you prefer to carry on your luggage or check it all?
I check it all, just have like a little duffel bag I bring on the plane. And I cannot stand when people bring rollers onto planes as their carry on. It triggers me. When
Like,
someone brings
that gear is really heavy, man.
it, triggers me. Like, I just cannot fathom bringing a full piece of luggage with wheels on a plane. It absolutely, and half the time they're like it'll fit, and then it doesn't fit. They have to get it off the plane and it. Oh, I cannot stand it. Cannot stand it.
So I prefer to just have a shoulder bag or a backpack. Depending
Yes.
on the type of trip I'm taking, if I have to bring, like, if I'm doing a partnership like I did with that resort in Vegas, and I need to bring a lot of tech stuff, I don't like checking my tech stuff. So that's when I will opt to also have a small roller join me because I just cannot financially replace all of that when I get someplace
Ugh.
that's really heavy. But I mean, all I envision are the people that cram, like they have that stuffed roller. We're talking like the extenders
Yep.
are fully out. They've got a big purse and they've got like 3 Ross bags.
So I actually
We
have a
all
hot
know
take.
that person.
I have a hot take. I think checking your bag should be free, and carry on should cost you money.
And plus people take so many times because that lady with the 3 Ross bags plus the roller and the purse
Yeah.
is grabbing
I think we
away.
could plane and I think we could plane and deplane faster if checking bags are free and carry-ons cost money.
I made a comment last night walking through Detroit, which was my connection last night. We checked our rollers on the way home with Delta, and we all had backpacks. But I saw this family of 4 walking through. Like their kids are older, like Olivia's age, and the father just had one backpack, and they're all just strolling through the airport. I was like, I wonder what that's like to have one bag, like just
Just one bag, right?
for a
Right.
family. Like it was kind of mind blowing, but I thought that was a fun question. So our tip of the day, Jason, and I've had this question, I can't tell you how many times, is
Yeah.
don't know and unless you ask. I'm always a big proponent of if you are checking in, kind of tell your story, be like, oh, this is my first time staying at this brand. I'm
Right.
so excited to try it. Or, oh, my husband and I are here for a romantic getaway. We haven't gone anywhere since COVID started. Or, do you know what? We just had a baby. We're having a getaway. Or this is my daughter's first trip to a hotel. Like, tell your story because generally speaking, most people working a front desk will want to make your stay a little nicer. And you also need to make
Yes.
sure that you set your preferences in your loyalty app for whichever brand.
Yes, I would do that for my Hyatt. Put what kind of room I want. But that's a great question. A lot of times they might have rooms that are available, and if you're really nice, maybe you can get something nicer for free.
I know there's so many people like if I put a $20 bill under my credit card,
Oh
I mean,
God.
most people won't really take that because they're not allowed to. But just tell your story. Like the travel
Yes.
industry is such a people connection story. Let me pop that one up. Okay. And our last piece, community question of the day from Glynis in the Today in Travel group on Facebook. If you're not in it, go to todayintravel.live and join. You can ask questions, share your travel favorites. If you're doing a peer-to-peer back-to-back, so this is like I'm sailing out of Fort Lauderdale and then my next cruise is going out of Miami.
Yep.
Cruises on 2 different cruise lines. Can you get a COVID test on the ship for the first leg?
Yes, because I mean, there's almost all. I mean, every cruise I've done since the lines have restarted, I've received a physical printout of the test results on the last day of the cruise. So that would work for you would just take that test and take it to the next cruise ship.
Absolutely. I didn't even really think about that, but I was like, oh, that's a really good question. So when I was pulling the deck.
No, it is. No, I've been getting that a ton. And so technically, if you do like a back-to-back on the same cruise line, that test at the end of the first cruise satisfies the result to start the next sailing.
Absolutely. And then just a quick little blurb as to who is traveling this week. We have quite a few people out. We have Southern Caribbean, Alaska. We have some new ships on this lineup, and this is also in the group, so make sure you guys check that out. And all that we have left are questions Q&A. So please, guys, go into the group, ask your questions. This is a collaborative community. All forms of travel are welcome. All cruise lines are welcome. All airlines, even One World, are welcome. And we hope to see you guys in the group. Jason, anything else you want to add today?
That is it. Thank you as always, guys, and we'll see you here next week.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Okay. Bye.